If you're planning to sell your house in Aurora in 2026, the biggest mistake you can make is choosing a price or strategy before you actually know what your home is worth in today's market. And before you decide anything, get your free home value. It gives you clarity without pressure, so you're not guessing on one of the biggest financial decisions you'll ever make. Today I'm going to walk you through step by step through how to sell a house in Aurora, from prep to listing to showings to offers, inspections, and closings, so you know exactly what to expect. Let's break it down. Most sellers think that selling starts when the sign goes in the yard. It doesn't. It starts weeks and sometimes months before that. The preparation stage usually takes 2 to 4 weeks, depending on condition and availability. Here's what happens during this phase. First, you determine value, not based on what you hope it's worth, and not based on what your neighbor listed at, but based on comparable homes that have actually sold in Aurora recently. Second, you handle strategic updates. That doesn't mean a full renovation. It means tightening things up, paint touch-ups, minor repairs, deep cleaning, and decluttering. Third, you prepare for marketing, professional photos, accurate measurements, disclosures, and a pricing strategy that matches your timeline. The mistake sellers make here is they either over-improve and over-spend, or they skip prep entirely and leave money on the table. The goal isn't perfection, it's positioning. And once the home is prepped and priced correctly, then we move into the listing. When your home goes live on the market, the first 7 to 10 days matter more than any other time during the process. This is when your listing gets the most attention. Buyers in Aurora are watching new listings closely. If the price and presentation are right, you create momentum. If it's off, you create hesitation. And here's what happens in this stage. Your home goes live on the MLS, it syndicates online, the showings begin, and feedback starts coming in. This phase typically lasts anywhere from a few days to a few weeks depending on condition, pricing, and timing. A common mistake is sellers like to test a high price just to see what happens. But what usually happens is the market answers back with silence. And once you lose that early momentum, it's hard to get it back without adjusting. That's why clarity before you list is so important. And if you haven't checked your home value yet, do that first. It protects you from guessing. And once showings begins, the next phase is managing activity and evaluating offers. Showings can feel disruptive. There's cleaning, scheduling, and leaving the house. But this stage is temporary, and it's where leverage is built. The more prepared your home is, the smoother this part goes. As offers come in, it's not just about the price. You'll be looking at financing type, down payment strength, inspection terms, closing timelines, and contingency. The strongest offer isn't always the highest number, it's the one that's most likely to close smoothly. And this phase might last a few days in a high demand situation or several weeks if activity is slower. The key is staying strategic instead of emotional. Once you accept an offer, you move into the contract to close phase. After the contract is signed, the buyer typically schedules a home inspection. This usually happens within the first week under contract. No home is perfect. Even newer homes come back with a list. And what matters is how you respond. You might agree to certain repairs or offer a credit, negotiate, or decline items that are cosmetic or minor. The mistake here is overreacting or assuming the deal is falling apart because of a repair request. In reality, this is a normal step in almost every Aurora sale. Once the inspection is resolved, the buyer's lender finalizes the loan, then you move towards the closing. And finally, the closing stage. The full timeline from list date to closing in Aurora often runs 30 to 60 days depending on how quickly you go under contract and financing timeline. At closing, you'll sign final documents, ownership transfers, and proceeds are distributed. And before you get there, you'll want to finalize moving plans, complete agreed repairs, keep the home in showing condition until contingencies are clear. You'll want to coordinate utility transfers. The smoother the earlier steps are handled, the smoother closing feels. Selling a home isn't just about putting it on the market. It's about pricing correctly from day one, preparing strategically, not emotionally, and evaluating offers intelligently. It's also about managing inspections calmly and controlling the timeline instead of reacting to it. And none of that works well if you don't start with clarity. So before you decide to list, wait, renovate, or test a price, get your free home value. It gives you a clear starting point without pressure, without commitment. Just information so you can make a confident decision. I'm Sean Gimpert with O'Neill Property Group, and if you're thinking about selling in Aurora in 2026, start with clarity, then build the right plan from there.